all know that it's really important for a wrestler to establish a finisher. Otherwise, who's going to kick out of it at WrestleMania? For some reason, though, every now and then a sports entertainee will go, I need to change, man. So hello, my friends. My name is Simon Miller. Let's run down 10 of these right now. Number 10, Chris Jericho and the breakdown. Chris Jericho has reinvented himself so many times. Often these new characters do come up with finishes. Sometimes fans like them, sometimes fans go, we don't want it. So when he first came to the WWF, he continued to use the Boston Crab, even though he's not even from Boston. When he returned in 2001 and 2002, he was trying the breakdown. If you need to know what it looks like, think about Jeff Jarrett's The Stroke or the Mrs. Skull-Crushing finale. He was doing that facebuster. You can see Chris use this at Vengeance 2002 against John Cena, or when he beat The Rock in 2001 for the WCW World Championship. So let's not pretend we weren't trying here. We were going all in. Now, he never really totally vanished because he did keep it a part of his arsenal for a while, but of course, eventually he switched to the Code Breaker. That one has to get a massive round of applause. It's pretty much all time. Number 9, Kane and the falling powerbomb. I don't really understand why we ever thought about changing Kane's finisher. Like, the reason he did the chokeslam and the tombstone is because he was the Undertaker's fake brother. So just keep on doing it. Now, of course, there is a reason behind this, and that's because Vince McMahon woke up one day and said, we cannot do pile drivers anymore because people are landing right on their heads. And while The Undertaker was allowed to keep doing his, they must have sat the big red machine down and gone, you have to change it. So he did use a big old bomb of power for a while, and you can see him doing it to Christian here. But of course, he came down with them for ultimate effect. And look, it was okay, it was all right. But the problem is, when you do have the tombstone as the maneuver, how you're going to win matches, well, you've already perfected it, so eventually everyone decides, you know what, let's just return. And I guess it was an attempt to try and make Kane feel more unique, but he was a huge man in a red mask. I think we'd already done the job. Number 8, The Rock shoulder breaker. Now, this was so early in The Rock's career, he was still Rocky Maivia. When he did walk into Madison Square Garden, shaking his fists in 1996, somebody had said, you can use the shoulder breaker as your finisher. And guess how many fans bought that? I tell you, it was one. His mum probably liked it, because that's just what mums do. Now, eventually somebody must have clued up The Rock, because he switched it to a German suplex. Now listen, back in the mid-90s, the German suplex wasn't as spammed as it is today, but people still looked at it and went, well, the guy's just fallen on his back. Try again. This is why his heel turn was so important, because in 1997, not only did he start using the Uranage that he called the Rock Bottom, but he got so over as a character, of course, he then adopted the People's Elbow. And we haven't looked back since. Good. Number 7, John Moxley in the original Dirty Deeds. So let's just call him Dean Ambrose, I suppose, because that's what he was here. It's just easier. I think this could be the same as The Rock in the sense somebody must have gone up to Dean and said, listen, man, really great that you are doing that double arm DDT, but your current version kind of sucks. And this was 2012, and Ambrose would lock it in the same way, but he would basically do it in reverse, so I guess you could describe it as reverse DDT. Now, the issue here is when he did land it, oh my gosh, it looked brilliant. But 80% of the time, he did not do this, and it just looked a little bit squiffy. Moxley realized this as well after he had tried to do it on Randy Orton. People don't understand this. I've met Randy Orton. He is a huge, huge man. You can't hit him with a weird reverse DDT, Buster. It doesn't work. Given that Dean was also living in the land of the giants, he did just go back to the more basic one, and it was the right move to make once again. And also, I'm pretty sure he borrowed this from Cactus Jack to begin with. Love it. Number 6, Randy Orton in the ozone. And now to one we have talked about a lot. Because of course, Randy Orton in many ways would make his career courtesy of the RKO. Before this, he was using the ozone, which was a finisher so many wrestlers tried, but by and large, none of them could get it to click. You may know it as the overdrive as well, and there's no way I can explain it, so, get some images on the screen. But you basically put your leg over someone's neck, and then you grab their leg, and you kind of do a spinny thing. It's a lot like the Crossroads, right? Now, Cody always makes the Crossroads look good, but there are other people that try and it just doesn't work in the way you would want. So when it came to the ozone, honestly, the success rate must have been 1 out of 10. It was just needlessly complicated and it took so much cooperation that if you were trying to do it on someone that had 2 left feet, you both looked like goobers. I don't know who went up to Randy and said, just do a cutter, man. But you can call it one of the best decisions in the history of pro wrestling. Number 5, Seth Rollins' ripcord knee. So one day Vince McMahon woke up and he said, I don't like the curb stomp. because he could imagine kids doing it to each other by the roadside. And if that's true, just shut the whole thing down. So after he had these visions, he told Seth Rollins he wasn't allowed to do it anymore. And poor Seth, he tried everything. I mean, he came out the other side of that feud with Triple H, and he wanted to get the pedigree as his own. And we just went, nah, bruh, that belongs to the game. This led us to the ripcord knee, which was essentially a rainmaker, but you used your leg. Listen, this would have been a decent extra thing to throw into your moveset, but as a finisher, by and large, we would not have it. So he really was fighting an uphill battle because poor Seth was trying his ass off when Vince, as he was wont to do, just changed his mind, with the one small caveat being, we now just have to call it the stomp and not the curved stomp. But thank goodness it did come back, because honestly, it's a bit like Randy Orton and the RKO. No move would ever suit Seth Rollins more. Number 4, Shawn Michaels' teardrop suplex. The super kick is so attached to Shawn Michaels, there are fans in 2024 who have meltdowns when they see other guys using a kick that is super so much. Like, well, Shawn only needed to do it once. Why do you have to do it 47 times? Who cares? Now, it all comes down to wrestling evolving, but I do agree with you. Michaels' sweet chin music was one of the best wrestling finishes ever, because you could hit it out of nowhere. Shawn didn't start with this either, though, because in the early 90s, when he wanted to win a match, he would go, ha, I'm gonna hit you with the teardrop suplex. And no, that doesn't mean he would do a suplex while crying, although I guess that would work, but it wasn't until the mid-90s until he did adopt the super kick, and I think he, in that moment, also realized, this is way easier. Actually, too, when we do go back to the teardrop suplex, he didn't beat anyone with the damn thing. Go and watch his early matches with Bret Hart. The Hitman's kicking out all the time. It also had such a long setup time, which of course was not the case with the sweet chin music. So yeah, I think if you are an up-and-coming wrestler, you need to come up with something like this. I mean, even now he's now, what, 55, 56, 57? He's not that old. However old he is, I bet he could still pull it out if he needed to. Number 3, The Undertaker's first chokeslam. Now, this is a tough one to find, but I assure you it does exist, and it was when we were still finessing the Undertaker character. I mean, he was walking to the ring, and sometimes we were calling him Kane the Undertaker. So you can see how that ties in. Come late 1991, the chokeslam we all knew and loved would come to fruition. But before that, the dead man would whip his opponents into the ropes, and when they would come back, I suppose like a black hole slam, he would pick them up in the chokeslam position when he too would fall to the mat. Well, I want to be that guy, but maybe it actually looked even more devastating. Taker would also spin with it sometimes too, so I guess it was a little bit like Baron Corbin's Deep Six. And do you know why this was changed? Maybe rightfully so. Somebody in the back was like, isn't this guy meant to be a zombie? I think he's moving too much. So we scrapped that, and instead we made sure that we established the tombstone as a super duper finisher. Once again, if you were talking about the Mount Rushmore of finishing moves, well, the Stone of the Tomb probably's got to be up there. Number 2, Triple H's cutter. So this is the best story. Because when Triple H first turned up in the WWF, he had seen DDP in WCW using a cutter. It was like, well, I'm in a totally different promotion now. I'm going to steal it. The legend has always been that Diamond Dallas Page staring up Triple H and said, listen, man, I know what you're doing. I'm really trying to get that over as my move. Can you just not? And actually, fair play to Hunter, he said, you know what, man, you've helped me so much in my career, you got it. And he stopped. It was Michael Hayes who eventually gave the pedigree to Triple H, but he called it the Pandemonium Pedigree, or the Pedigree Pandemonium, which is a terrible name, but once again, this was a terrific shift. I mean, it was like some kind of weird double underhook pile driver facebuster thing, and when you see it, as we've already established, who do you think about? The man with 3 H's. I mean, he really did carve his own niche out with this, to the point I don't think we'll ever forget. It's right up there with the Rock Bottom or the Stunner. So fair play to that guy. Number 1, John Cena's lightning fist. So when John Cena returned to the WWE in the late 2000s or the late 2010s, he decided I needed a new move, so I'll just shelve the AA for a little bit, and instead I'll do the lightning fist. So I'm pretty sure John was doing this with his tongue firmly in cheek, because it was just punching somebody in the face, and the setup was him like wiggling and jiggling like he was about to kill you, and then he didn't. I'm not trying to be mean here, but it didn't actually have much impact at all. Now, some people have said that John did this because WWE was trying to appeal to the Asian market, and that sounds both stupid and absolutely offensive, so I'm going to draw a line through it right now. This didn't last very long though, and I would say within 6 months, John Cena had gone back to his DVD slam, and that's never doing this again. All we want from John Cena in 2024 is nostalgia. He's about to come back for his return run, and imagine he did, and now he was like, meh, a clothesline is my finisher. We'd all be like, no, it isn't, John, try again. Also, a little bit scared about all that. Don't think I can handle Cena retiring. Mostly because it makes me look internal. Good grief, am I getting old. Now, of course, make sure you drop us a comment below and let us know about any other finishes that maybe you liked or you didn't like when they did get changed. Like the video, share the video, and subscribe. If you click this video on the screen right now, I will hook you up with more wrestling trivia. Otherwise, thank you very much for joining me, my friends. See you on the next one.